You're locked in with the innovators. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell. What's going on? You locked in with the Innovators YouTube. You already know I got the best interviews right here, man. I got my guys in the studio. We're not in the studio, we on Zoom, but how you doing? I'm doing good, bro. How's everything going for you?
I'm living.
Just to start off, can you let the people know where you're from and where they can find you on social media?
I'm from Sacramento, California. You can find me on Instagram at Izayuh the Dreamer, IZAYUHTHEDREAMER. Izayuh the Dreamer.
Yeah, no, that was
No under caps, just Izayuh the Dreamer. That's me.
What was it like growing up in Sacramento for you?
Ooh, damn, you coming out like that origin story? Shoot, I grew up in North Sacramento, North Highland specifically. I mean, it's not like the worst, but it. I mean, I've seen a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of there's a lot of politics that go on.
For sure.
It's red line. Like one thing about Sacramento, is it's red line like crazy. So like you have like little pockets, right? So, I was like on the pocket where it was like kind of like not the best. I don't want to say it was bad because I've been to worse places. Like I'm Jamaican, so I've seen like real like poverty. Yeah, so you know what I mean? Like I've seen real poverty, but like and like on top of that, like, just there's worse places. Like it's not that bad, but like, there's definitely like I was on the pocket where it was like, you had the Crips on one side and Bloods on the other side and motherfuckers just doing dumb shit. But
was it hard for you to stay out of that?
Yes and no. I think like mentally, like I grew up, like, my mom was always really like, I came from like a lot of like educated people in my family. Like my auntie like went to Stanford. My mom was going to college while I was growing up. My sister's a lot older than me, so she was going to college while I was growing up too. So I grew up around a lot of people who were just like really educated. So they really like pushed me to like try to do other things in my life. But like, your environment still nurtures you in certain ways. So like, even though like mentally I really pushed myself away from that, I think there were some things that were just kind of unavoidable. Like, there's certain things like, because a lot of what kind of brings people even into like gang life in the first place is like protection. So it's like, if you're trying to go to the 99-cent store and niggas is jumping you, you might want to partner up with some people.
Sure, sure. Now, environment definitely takes a big play into that. Like as far as like growing up, like was your parents around? What was that like?
Yeah, so my dad wasn't really around like that. My dad's a recording artist, and so I grew up with my dad going to like traveling and going on tours and stuff all over the world. And so he wasn't really around to like to kind of like focus on me in those types of ways. But he was like, he wasn't not there. He just wasn't like super present. Like, especially with like me growing up and just uh yeah, especially me growing up in the States. He's Jamaican, so he lives in Kingston, so like travel's weird.
Oh
yeah. So
do you feel like that affected you in any way?
What was that?
Do you feel like that affected you in any way?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm a black man in America, and I didn't really get to have like a huge male role model, like super present in my life constantly. But like, as I've gotten older, like I've appreciated it a little bit, like in some ways, because he's a very spiritual person. So like the time that I did spend like was really impactful. Like it guided me in a lot of spiritual ways. Like I always say, like the greatest gift my dad gave me was my name, Izayuh, right? Which is like, it's a biblical name. So that always like, that like when as I got older and like I kind of like I found my way to kind of just like centering myself that way, spiritually grounding myself in that way. And just kind of having that reminder of like, who am I named after? Like I'm named after like one of the greatest prophets in the Bible. Like I have to, what that means, because that's something I have to live up to in some ways.
Yeah. Nah, that makes sense. I do think it's kind of cool though. Like even though y'all were apart, y'all both did choose to be artists. You feel me? Y'all both kind of chose a similar path in your lives. So there's got to be like something there. It might just run in your blood.
I didn't want for the longest.
Really? Why is that?
I don't know. I there was a part of me that was like, nah, I don't ever want to be an artist because like I don't want to go on tour, like like
That's the fun part.
here's right, because it is the fun part. Because I went on tour with my dad a couple times, right? That shit was fun. It was amazing. Sure. But like when you're on the road, like especially like the type of artist he is, right? He's reggae artist, he's and like kind of like not being like some huge Drake or something, right? He's having a tour the whole year for multiple years sometimes, right? You're on the road constantly. You don't have time to like build real relationships with people. And I seen that and I didn't want that for myself. But then as I got older, I kind of was just like, man, that shit is fun though.
Yeah. Nah, that shit, that touring is fun. Just, I mean, living the artist life is fun in general, especially, with being an artist, it don't always last forever. So you kind of gotta enjoy
and now
it,
that
and
I understand it more, like I be telling people I'm a whole rock star because I'll show up places and turn it up, and I make like R&B kind of hip hop music, so it's like I get people in they feelings, get a little romantic or whatever. It's fun.
Yeah, nah, for sure. As far as like getting into making music and producing, like how did you get to how did that happen?
So I got a guitar from my cousin. Didn't have it was like an electric guitar, didn't have an amp or anything.
Right.
And like the what's it called? The pickups on it weren't even like didn't even really work for real. So I had to kind of like fix it, and then I had to like teach myself how to play it. Um and then I got like really, really into that. Like that was like my first kind of like introduction to music. I was probably like 12. And then in high school, I joined a couple bands. Um and yeah, it was just really fun. Like even when I was doing the bands, I was like there was a part of me that like really loved performing. I picked up the bass and stuff, so and I just loved performing. I like just being able to like hit some funky ass shit and get people moving. Like that was really nice.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like there's still a part of me that was like, I don't know if I really want to do this for real. But then like after I graduated high school and I was kind of like, what am I gonna do with my life? I went to Sac State for
Real.
political science,
How was that?
politics, and then I was like, this is stupid. I want to do it. Like
I
this is
don't want to do this anymore.
the political system is evil. I don't want to be a part of this. Like I want to make music. Like
Nah, I mean, I went to college too, bro. I know how it is, especially when you're not really trying to do something that's like you need education for per se. You're like, man, am I wasting my time here?
yeah. I just feel like I legitimately feel like music is like the most it's the music is the most important thing in the world. Like
And why do you say that?
music is entertainment. Like it makes people happy. Like I mean, when COVID was shutting stuff down and people couldn't go to shows, people were figuring out how to get entertained through music. Like whether that's through like you know, the versus battles and stuff, or just like live stream shows and stuff like that. Like, you know, there was albums coming out like what, like this whole year, 2022 has been like some of the most like healing and deepest, like most like just engaging content I've ever seen in music, because people needed that, you know, like it's just it's healing, it's fun, it gets people to just think about other stuff. But then also, like, you know, I think of like Bob Marley, when he was making music in Jamaica, like there was like civil wars essentially happening between the political process, and he was making music, going up on stage and preaching against it. People were trying to kill him and then missing or the guns jamming or whatever, and people are hearing the music, and it's like it's inspiring people to like put their guns down, to like do other things, to like, so you know, music is just it's the most powerful form of influence that we have over people.
Nah, the influence of music is crazy. I do agree with you. It definitely is like it's almost unexplainable how it
Yeah.
can have an impact on your thought process, how you feel, your mood, you know. But people listen to music every day. There's not a lot of things that people can say they do every single day. And
Yeah,
that's definitely one of them for sure.
you're gonna
Uh,
hear one song every day.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
As far as like being a label manager for Dreamers Records, like how did that come about?
So I used to be a social emotional educator. So I worked in an after school program, like with like kids, on like developing them, like kids that were like, maybe had like anger issues or like ADHD. I was also a paraeducator, so I worked with like special needs kids. And we had this work training once, and they had asked us this question. I don't even remember what the question was, but I just remember like it made me just like think about like why I was doing what I was doing. And like growing up as a kid, my teachers used to always be like, "Oh, Isaiah, he spaces off. Like he don't be paying attention. He just spaces off, and he be daydreaming and stuff." And like as an insult, when you tell somebody they be daydreaming, it's like, "Oh yeah, like he just be in his own world." Like that's a bad thing,
Yeah,
you know. And I realized that like being a daydreamer, like dreams are the most powerful. Like as Black people, right? Like, we use dreams as a metaphor for like the highest peaks. You know, like when Martin Luther King does his "I Have a Dream" speech, he talks about going to the mountain, right? Like that's the dream, is getting to the top of the mountain and coming down. You know, like as a daydreamer, I'm dreaming while I'm moving around. I'm constantly envisioning the world I want to live in, and then actively trying to make that world. So that kind of like came together as like, yeah, Daydreamers Records. I'm taking this thing that people used to say as an insult to me, and I'm saying, no, that's my power. That's my superpower. Like the fact that I can be in the middle of I could be eating dinner, it get all quiet, everybody on their phone. Instead of me being on my phone, I'm just thinking. That's my superpower.
yeah.
They
Nah, I under daydream is definitely not a bad thing for sure. And you can, I mean, I do like how you flip the name though for sure, because people try to make it seem like throw like I guess shade, or you trying to throw shade on you for that, but like I like how you did a play on that for sure. But what have been some of the pros and cons for you as like, you know, an artist and your producer and even being a label manager? What are some of the challenges you faced and some of the successes you've had?
um I think the biggest challenge has just been just staying focused, because I do a lot of things, and sometimes it can get a little overwhelming trying to figure out like what do I want to focus on more, because
Right.
sometimes seasons in my life where it's like I'm in my recording artist bag and I'm just making music and I'm just recording and I'm just working on an album. But sometimes I'll be like, yo, music's not making a lot of money, so I'm going to be on my engineering bag, and I'll just like be selling studio time and try to make money that way. And then the label manager side is like, that's a lot of just business, and trying to understand like, okay, like what are the ways that I can monetize my brand, whether that's like through videos and video content, or like merchandise, or how can I sell more studio time? How can I better promote other artists that I'm working with? Like,
Yeah.
just
Have you have artists signed, or like what's the situation with that?
so I have had a few artists that I've worked with, not like on paperwork signed, but
Yeah.
it kind of like it the biggest challenge I've had with, as like just on the label side of it, is keeping artists motivated. A lot
Yeah.
of times they're like, they do music as a hobby. So they're like, I don't know if I want to be that serious with it. And it's like,
Right.
well, like that's what this is here for. Like, I'll do that work for you. I'll do that labor for you, as long as you're motivated to create. But sometimes that's a struggle. And I understand that as an artist, like sometimes I feel like that. So
Yeah. Nah, I can understand that. Is your goal to like sign multiple artists, or like what do you see? What's the plans for the label?
I think my big plan, I don't want things to be too big. I like being independent. I think like my biggest like what I look at as like an example of like how I'd want to be is probably like TDE, but like early TDE when it was just like Black Hippie,
Yeah.
like, so like kind of like that, like just a few artists that are all real consistent and in the same field and just want to do the same thing,
Yeah.
you know.
No, I rock with that for sure.
Yeah.
Um, as far as your latest release, No Shortcuts, what was the mindset for that project?
Mm. Uh, Shoot, No Shortcuts is interesting because that took me like 2 years to actually create. So I had went through like a really bad breakup. Um, girl cheated on me and some other stuff. And
Yeah.
I like trying to like understand, like I was trying to navigate that like emotionally. Um, and it was also like the beginning of COVID too. So it was just like I was just stuck in the house. Like
Yeah.
I had done these like fat studio sessions. Like I was sleeping in the studio and stuff, and I was just like recording hella music. Like I probably recorded like 30 songs. And I was gonna make a whole other project. But then like I realized I was putting a lot of like my pain and like my hurt into it. And that's like that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But I just realized that's not what I wanted to make. I didn't want to make something that was just like me being all dark and depressed and stuff. So
Yeah.
then Shortcuts came out of me wanting to like refine that material I made, but flip it into something more like positive and like healing.
How you feeling now from the breakup? You good? You
Oh, I
still
feel
tripping?
man, I said I'm living for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, I feel you on that. Um, do
Downs,
you make your own beats as well, or what's the process for that?
sometimes
What are you using to make your beats?
FL Studio
Okay.
and Logic. Sometimes I flip between. It depends on what I'm trying to make.
And you mix it, you mix yourself as well?
Yeah.
How long what was the process to doing this? So like were you just making music first, then you started making beats, and then you start mixing yourself? Like which
Mm-hmm.
one came first or which one came last? Because those are like three entities you for me that could really go to all could separately go to one person, but you do all three. So what was the process for learning all three of those? And
Mm-hmm.
like how, like what came first?
That's a really tight question, and I think that there's a good lesson in that. So I see it like this, right? Like, I had always been like making music, like as far as like I started writing poetry, and like I said, I was playing the guitar. But when you're talking about like in a studio environment, I had to learn recording first. You learn how to record yourself, you learn how to set your levels right, then you learn how to mix, and then you learn how to produce. That's kind of my mindset
I
with that.
got you.
Like, because any producer could record and mix you and get you right. Right. That's because that's like, I think that's like the last step to that, is once you know how to put all the pieces together.
Yeah.
So recording, mixing, recording, mixing, producing is kind of, that was the steps.
And as far as like your studio process, like how does that work when you putting a song together?
Um, my process has changed a lot over the last like 2 years. So when I first started, I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing for real. Like I kind of let a lot of the people I was working with guide me in those directions. I just kind of would like write stuff and then I'd find a beat and throw it on there. But now I kind of do everything at once. So I'll probably, it really depends. I might have the words first and then like I might lay down some guitar stuff or something and then and then just lay some drums and then mix it all together. But sometimes I might like do the guitar stuff and the drums first and then make words to it. But it's typically like everything is happening all in one kind of session.
Yeah.
I find a sound, find a vibe, and just sit in it.
If somebody never heard a song from you, which song would you tell them to listen to?
Shoot, they never heard a song from me. I'd probably tell them to listen to Under My Skin. That's my favorite song on either Under My Skin or Peace of Mind.
I got you. And what is it that you see yourself see for yourself in the future?
Shoot. Long legacy, an innovator.
Straight up.
Right? uh yeah, nah, I think I see myself probably just being like a good example of what like dedication can do when you just stay focused on your dreams.
how
I want to be a beacon of hope for my city for real.
how hard has it been for you? Like the sound of Sacramento, we know what the sound is. It's more like gangster shit. There's a couple sprinkles of R&B in there, but mostly like a gangster vibe. Does that like deter you in any way, or does that like how do you get a buzz in a city where people are so like drawn to gangster shit, and that's not really your sound. But at the same time, when you make good music, I feel like, for example, like La Russell,
Mhm.
NorCal scene is more like gangster shit, pimp shit, and then you got La Russell here who's rapping about losing his money off investing in himself. So there is a lane for it though. But how do you stay motivated, and what's your approach to gaining traction in an area where people sometimes aren't as receptive to that off the jump,
you know I think that it's perception, like I don't think people are as like I think people are receptive to it because good music is good music. Like I listen to that stuff. I love Briss. Like rest in peace, Briss the Move. Like that
My
was
boy.
yeah. Like
Rest in peace.
I love Briss. Like that was my dream was to work with him one day.
No,
Um,
that's right.
I'm a big D Steez fan, right? Like I actually have a song with D Steez coming out.
Yeah,
Like I like that stuff. Because it's good music. Like it's just is what it is. Like regardless of the substance, like that's still their truth. Like they're really living like that. That's really the environment that we're coming from. I just happen to just kind of do it a little different.
yeah,
But it's still business. It's still a move.
yeah,
Uh, I do plenty of shows with artists that are kind of doing that, and like it's just balance. That's all it is. Like
yeah.
people like to hear both. Like
Not
especially
for
girls.
sure.
What guys are listening to is probably on a girls playlist, right?
Yeah,
They gonna listen to the hood shit, but they're gonna listen to the R&B shit. They're gonna listen to we listen to different stuff.
yeah,
We're not a monolith, right? The
yeah.
culture's not.
What's next for you? What can the people expect coming soon? What's next?
I have a single coming out January 13th, called Reciprocate, with Keita Mahal. She's a local artist here in Sacramento. She's really dope, really, really talented. She's going places for real. Like she's someone to watch out for. And she blessed me with a dope ass verse. You made something crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the mindset for the record?
Um, just reciprocate, just give what, you know, give what you want to get back.
How often do you feel that people do get what they put in
Not
back?
very, not very often. I think a lot of people expect to get everything without putting in the work to get there.
Why do you feel people are like that?
I think it's really easy to get complacent. America is like that. America is a place where like getting complacent is like, it's real easy to just get stuck in whatever the world throws at you, and then you just kind of go, well, this is working for me, so I'm gonna just do that.
Nah, I agree with you on that. I feel like especially being a creative,
Got to get out your comfort zone.
definitely you gotta find ways to make sure that you're always challenging yourself and you feel like you're fully invested in. I feel like one of the like biggest challenges for me is doing a second interview with somebody because you've already asked all the simple regular interview questions. So it's like, how can you take it to the next level? How can you dive deeper? There's a lot of questions that you can't ask anymore. So you have to figure out how to, but like that, I enjoy that challenge. So like I'll be like, all right, yeah, I'm down to do that. Like I don't think it's fun, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you say
I love it.
you got any
Enjoy
new,
the journey.
you said what?
I said enjoy the journey, enjoy the process.
Nah, for sure you gotta enjoy the journey. How would you describe yourself?
Like personally or like creatively?
Personally.
Uh Shoot. I'm honest to a fault. Like sometimes I'm an asshole. Like people don't usually think that because I come off like, like I'm pretty like I'm a nice guy. Like I think I'm a nice guy, but I also don't tolerate bullshit, and I don't sugarcoat stuff. Like, I'm not gonna gas somebody up just to gas them up. Like if something's not cool, I'm gonna be honest, and I don't have a filter, so sometimes I'm a dickhead.
Yeah.
But I am
It
honest.
happens to the best of us, man.
I'm a man of God, so I try my best to just be a good person.
You've always been religious.
No,
How did that change happen?
well, one, I don't really consider myself religious. I consider myself like spiritual. Like I believe in God. I believe in Jesus.
Yeah.
So that's I'm not like what do they call it, like new age or nothing, but like I am very like I believe in a higher power. I just don't believe in like organized religion. Um, but I probably came across that I was doing a lot of like drugs and like substances and stuff, just to kind of like cope. Like, I was dealing with a lot of mental health stuff like depression, anxiety, my brother got killed, my grandfather died, my best friend just died like maybe like 2 months ago. Rest in peace, Alfred. And like, so life is like, like, and that's just like the surface. Like life is throwing a lot of bullshit at me, as it does. Everybody has stuff that they go through, and I didn't really know how to deal with it. And I had went through a really like traumatic experience, and it just like I just remember just like feeling that like warmth, and it was just like I just was like, God is real. Like I just knew it. Like I just felt it so heavy, and it was like it was the comfort and like the love that I needed in my life, especially at that time. And I've my life has been better since because of that. I think like when I think of like being healthy and rich in spirit, right? Like, it's your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, but then the one that we always forget about is our spiritual health. And that was the biggest part that I was like lacking, because when you don't have any faith, you don't have any hope, and everything just seems like it's worthless. But when you have that faith, it's like, wait a second, like shit might suck, but there's some type of reason for it, even if I don't understand it.
Right.
Keeps you going.
No, I agree with that. With dealing all the death and the tough circumstances you've had to endure, like how have you dealt with that? Like how you said your brother was killed, which is a tragedy, a tragic moment. Even losing your grandpa, that's a tough moment as well. How have you dealt with that and handled yourself in those situations? Because it's not always easy.
I mean, in the moment when it happened, um, that happened in the same year, like maybe like a couple months apart. Like my brother died. My grandpa was sick. While he was sick, I had to fly out to Jamaica to go to my brother's funeral. Then I came back from Jamaica, and then maybe like a couple weeks later, my grandpa died, who was like my dad because he like raised me.
Right.
So that was like tough because it was a huge transition because it's like, dang, like I don't have like my brother, and now I don't have like the closest thing to like a father figure I've had. So like now I just feel like I'm in this world with a lot of pain and like no real guidance to deal with it. So in the moment, it was like I think I just kind of like shut down. But like now today, like at 25, you know, I mean, it's bittersweet. Like I think my flesh, my physical body is like, damn, like that sucks that I can't have that time with people. But I do believe that like people go to a better place, you know?
Right.
So like, it's just it's life.
Yeah.
You
Now life definitely throws some curveballs at you, shit that you would never expect would happen.
know?
And yeah, it's the crazy thing. You only get one life, so you kind of just gotta figure
Yeah.
out how to cope and deal with the bullshit that life throws at you. And you gotta hope and know, I guess, that you will see these people again one day.
Mm-hmm. I think like my boy that just passed away, we would have long talks because this life, like we both would be going through it and we'd be just talking about it. And I remember he'd always be like, man, every time I lose somebody, I'm just like, that's another reason to go harder. Like that's just another reason. Like God gave me this life and I'm still living it. I just gotta live it harder because I'm still here.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I'm at right now. Is like I'm still here, so I'm just gonna keep going harder.
Nah, I agree with that for sure. Um, Outside of music, what do you like to do?
Um, I like movies. I'm a big like movie buff.
What's
Like
your
like
favorite movie
I'll
right
go at like 10 o'clock in the morning and just like watch a movie,
now?
movie theater, XD, all that. Like
What's
and
your
just
favorite movie right now?
my favorite movie right now, uh, The Whale with Brendan Fraser.
I don't think I've seen that. I gotta check it out. Is it good?
Crazy.
Is what type? What's that about?
It's about this guy who's like he's like really fat, like he's like obese, and he's dying because of it. And so he uses the time he has left to try to repair his relationship with his daughter, and she like hates him because he like dipped out on her.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's like just him trying to repair. It's like crazy because it's like him kind of trying to redeem himself, but then him also trying to redeem his daughter because like she's like doing bad. Like she's like about to drop out of school. She like doesn't give a fuck about nobody. Like she's about to just throw her life away. So
Yeah.
it's like him trying to save her, but also like redeem himself as
Yeah.
a father. And it just I don't know. It just hit me hard.
Nah, it sounds like it got a good plot and shit. I ain't gonna lie. It sound pretty good though. Sound like a good story though.
Yeah.
Besides him dying, but trying to redeem the relationship. Um,
Also, Everything Everywhere All at Once is really good too.
these are on Netflix or where these movies? These in the theater? What?
The Whales in theaters right now. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I don't know where that's at right now. I saw it in theaters. It came out like maybe it was a year ago.
I
That
got
that crazy. That one's like if you like action, that one's got like some crazy action in it. Like
I gotta check that out too.
dude,
Uh,
it's just a movie. Like it's just crazy.
Since you've been making music, what is one of the biggest lessons you've learned so far?
Biggest lesson in music: enjoy it. Just have fun. Don't think too hard about it. Don't sit on stuff. Release it. Like if you got a dope song that you made and it's mixed and mastered and ready to put out, just put it out. Don't think too hard about it.
I like
You know.
that. That's definitely I like that advice for sure. Is there anything you want to address before we get out of here?
No. I mean, hey, I got a single coming out on January 13th. Check that out. Key to Mahal, Reciprocate. But I got a lot of music coming out 2023. I got a lot of music coming out. So yeah, I'm planning on dropping more than I've ever dropped this next coming year. So
Any goals for the new year that you can share with me?
what was that?
Any goals for the new year that you can share with me?
Be honest. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with people around you.
No, I like that. For my final question, I want to ask you, what advice would you give to the younger you?
What advice should I give to the younger you? Keep going. Don't stop. Just keep doing something. Just keep doing stuff.
Do you feel like you slowed down or you slowed yourself down or what?
Shoot. Probably at one point. I think right now, like I'm in like a very like I'm go like especially like this year. 2022 was a really good year for the most part. Like, you know, there was definitely some curveballs, but for the most part, like as far as like my work ethic was like crazy this year. Like I probably did like 3 or 4 shows a week the
That's
whole
good.
year. You know, I opened up for Michael Marshall. I opened up for Jay Stalin. I opened up for
Charles,
like,
that's my guy.
yeah. So that was like, you know, that was dope. And those shows were lit. Like I had, like those were fun, man. You know, just everything. So that was dope. Yeah. So I feel like this next coming year is gonna be like, you know, if that's what I was doing this year, and I'm like, I got like more energy than I did at the start of this year, and I'm gonna have even more going into this next one. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Hell yeah. Give me your Instagram so I know where to follow you at.
Yep. My Instagram's Izayuh the Dreamer, Izayuh the Dreamer.
Hell yeah. You locked in with the innovators, man. You already know we got the best interviews right here. We got Izayuh in the building. Y'all make sure to check out the new music. Y'all make sure to tap in for studio time, all that good stuff. Check out, follow him on Instagram so you can see when he performing next. Here's some
Mhm.
good music. I appreciate you for coming through for the interview, bro.
I appreciate you for having me. It's dope. This is probably one of my favorite interviews I've done.
No, I
So
appreciate it.
and next one's gonna be in person for sure.
It's good. Come rock with me. You're locked in with the innovators. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell.